Did you know that it's been almost 2 years since I last posted a tag video on this channel? It's not that people haven't been tagging me, they have been, and it's not that I haven't found tags that I thought would be interesting to do. I have, and I've bookmarked them. It's just that I'm a lazy human being and I tend to prioritize doing actual like book reviewing over any other type of content. I think I actually filmed a book tag some time ago. I think it was the middling booktuber tag. I think Sarai tagged me in that, and I didn't post it because I felt weirdly emotional on the day that I filmed it, and I was just like, no, we're not gonna do that. This is a tag about honesty. I'm going to talk about that sort of thing. So the BookTube Real Talk tag was created by Books with Alyssa J, and I was tagged to do it by Scott from Book Invasion. I don't know either Alyssa or Scott, but they seem like lovely people, and I'm glad that I was tagged now because I was just, over the past couple of days, watching other people's versions of this tag and thought, I might like to do that. And then I was tagged and I felt like doing it, so I'm actually filming something today. So, as per the creator's original video, this tag is not about drama, it is about good old-fashioned honesty, and I'm down with that. So let's proceed to the questions. Question number 1, what's something nobody told you about BookTube before you started your channel? Honestly, I was pretty well prepared for what I was getting myself into. I had watched BookTube for at least a year before I made my own content, and I was watching the niche of the BookTube community that I wanted to be a part of. So I was already watching booktubers who were doing the kind of thing that I wanted to do that appealed to me. And I was just going to join in on that. And I think something that a lot of people say that surprised them about doing BookTube is just how much time it takes to actually like make videos. And I already knew about that part. I already had some experience with making videos and editing videos, and I actually already had editing experience, not so much with the video format, but just editing myself and my words in general. So I knew going into making my own channel that it was going to be a huge amount of time and effort, and that making videos would be a very time-consuming process, that editing them would be very difficult sometimes, and I was actually counting on that time sink. I was looking for something that I could throw myself into and just be absorbed in for hours at a time. It was exactly what I needed at the time. So yeah, I don't think that I didn't know anything major when I came into BookTube as a creator rather than just a viewer, because weirdly I kind of knew what I was getting myself into. Question number 2 is, what is your opinion on typical BookTube videos like wrap-ups, TBRs, hauls, etc.? My opinion is that these typical, very popular types of videos are the meat and potatoes of BookTube for a reason. They are the types of videos that really serve clear purposes, you know? I think that's why they have become so popular, is that they are the right format to do what they do. I think some of the friction is that there are many people in the community who think that BookTube should be pushing the boundaries a bit more, should be more creative and more fueled by discussions and very different types of videos and stuff. And there's a place for that. I mean, there's a place for any type of content that's book related on BookTube. I mean, that's just the basic definition of our community, right? But I want to see diverse and creative content as well, but I think that you can do that while also doing some of the typical content as well. And I mean, if you look at my channel, clearly I don't have a problem with these things because almost every single video I make is either a wrap-up or a book review of some type. I don't do a lot of other kinds of videos, and that's because I make the kind of content that I enjoy watching. I mainly watch BookTube because I want to know what people think about what they've read. And people talk about what they've read in wrap-ups and reviews, like in depth in those types of videos. So that's what I make as well. I don't really care so much about talking about things that I haven't already read. I want to talk about them when I actually have an opinion on them. Hauls and TBRs probably get more hate than wrap-ups actually, and probably because it's a very repetitive type of video where people just say over and over again that they're interested in a book, that they want to read this, they thought it looked cool, but they haven't read it yet. I don't think there's any problem with talking about things that you want to read, you just haven't gotten around to yet. That's perfectly fine, but I personally don't find that content as interesting to watch anymore. I stopped watching TBRs and book hauls 3 years ago, I think. After I'd been making my own content for a couple of years, I just almost completely stopped watching TBRs and hauls because they weren't new. I wasn't finding new things through them. And a large part of that for me is that I'm pretty plugged into publishing news. I follow a lot of forthcoming book news and stuff that isn't related to BookTube. I follow it on, you know, publishing Twitter and through Locus and stuff like that. So by the time that I'm watching book hauls, I already know a lot of the stuff in them that would be of interest to me. Question number 3 is, what is an assumption you had about BookTube before you joined? Was it proven to be correct or not? I'm not really sure if I had any assumptions about BookTube, and a lot of that is because of how I entered the community. So the average, or the perception of the average booktuber, is a teenage or 20-something woman talking about YA or contemporary. And so for many people, they equate BookTube almost solely with young adult and with young adults. But I did not discover BookTube in the more typical way. I actually found BookTube through exactly the genre that I was looking for, which is adult science fiction and fantasy. So I was looking for science fiction review sites back in the day, and I came across Thomas from SFF 180's review site, and he had linked one of his BookTube videos, and that is how I found BookTube, through a booktuber who is completely the opposite of the average, demographically speaking, booktuber. So that was my entryway into BookTube, and I think, you know, all of the other booktubers that I found after that were very similar. You know, typically on the older side and reading adult fiction, reading science fiction. And so from day one, that was my perception of the community, was basically anybody can do this, and it's actually more of a bonus if you are different from the average, from what's super, super popular. That's going to set you apart. And so perhaps I have always assumed that anyone and anything is valid and viable in BookTube, whereas a lot of people self-reject. I have talked to multiple people who have expressed interest in doing BookTube, but have said, but I probably won't because I'm a guy and it's just mainly girls who do it, or I'm too old. I think that this assumption of mine that anybody can do it is actually correct. Question number 4 is, what is something you've done that has actually helped you grow your audience? I have never done anything specifically because I thought it would help me grow my audience. I don't really think that way. I'm very focused on only doing what I want to do, what serves Rachel's interests right now. And what I'm most interested in doing at any given point is usually to just talk about what I've read, and sometimes in an overly analytical way. I think there are some things that help. I think there are some things that, even if they're not necessarily going to gain you a huge following online, they're going to probably make you happier in the community because you're making friends. And that's activities that genuinely are about meeting people, interacting with them, engaging with the community, and making friends. And that's stuff like commenting on other people's videos, you know, being engaged, actually, you know, talking to people, participating in readathons, asking people if they want to do buddy reads with you, that sort of thing. Because even if it doesn't make a huge impact on your statistics, like I said, it's very rewarding to make friends. And I think that is the one thing that most people really take away as a benefit of BookTube, is not the statistics, not the numbers, not how successful you are, but how valuable and long-lasting the friendships you can make through it are. And that's been the big thing for me. I mean, doing BookTube has literally changed my life. And it's mainly because I made friends, and then outside of BookTube, outside of making videos, you know, got to meet people in meet space in the physical world and do things with them. And yeah, I mean, I made friends, and that's always good. Question number 5 is, what is a common mistake you see new booktubers making, or one that you made? I can't really comment on what other people are doing, especially because I think there's absolutely no shame in people doing things differently or with what they have at the time, especially technologically speaking. Like, what kind of filming setup do you have? What is your audio like? That is really out of a lot of people's control when they first start out. But like, mistakes that I have made, I think the really big one that I made, I don't even know if it's really a mistake, it is what it is that I basically made my channel by accident, and I did not set it up in an intentional way. So occasionally people ask about my channel name, and it's like, why do I have a BookTube channel that's just called Colonnati? Like, you can't even tell from the name of it that it's book related, because I don't like have Colonnati books or something in it. I made a video one day and I uploaded it to YouTube so I could send my dad the link so he could watch it. And at the time I didn't know anything about private videos or unlisted videos. I just uploaded a video to the kind of, I don't know, kind of like automatically generated YouTube account associated with my Google account. And then people actually found my videos because I'd made them public. So the result of all of that is that I have a channel with a name that I didn't really pick. It just is sort of, that's what it is. That just happened to be a username that I had used a lot online, and it's associated, this is the thing I most regret, is it's associated to my personal Gmail account, like my email address that I used for everything. And oh, I should probably change that. I really don't like it, especially because I'm very insistent on keeping a divide between my personal life online and my professional life online, and that I don't actually want my coworkers to ever find out that I have a YouTube channel. I've had people who have found my YouTube channel because I had to use my email address, and they were like, your email address looks kind of unusual, let me Google that, and then they find my videos. And I'm really not fond of that. It's not fun. I prefer having more control over who knows what I'm doing. So don't be like me, like set up a completely different account and be more intentional about what you call it and stuff, I suppose. But I can't say it's really been a bad thing. I think of it as a mistake because I've been a little bit uncomfortable with it over the years, but it's not been like a huge detriment or anything. So question number 6, what are your thoughts on working with publishers and sponsorships? I think the only reason that any of this is ever controversial is that it makes the audience sometimes wonder if you're honest in your opinions. Like, you're getting paid to review a book. Would you really say that you didn't like it if you're getting paid to review it? I think that's just a natural question that comes to many people's minds when they're watching sponsored content, but it is what it is. I don't have a problem with either of these things at all. I personally haven't really developed relationships with publishers and like requested more books for review because I'm a very socially anxious person, and I still, after years, have not gotten comfortable enough to just email a publicist and ask for a book for free. And a lot of that is, you know, one, I get scared about interacting with strangers and asking for free things, but also I really don't like that stress that's mainly self-imposed to review something that I feel like I have tacitly said I'm going to review. Like, that's the thing I'm giving in exchange for the free item. It creates a lot of stress. And the last question, number 7, is, do you think BookTube is dying? No. No, I do not. I don't think that a community like BookTube will ever really die unless something happens to the platform itself. I think BookTube has reached critical mass enough that it's its own thing, and there are enough people doing it. It's kind of self-sustaining at this point. There are always people coming in, there are always people leaving. I think, like I said, if something were to happen to YouTube as a platform, I think that that could be a problem with the future of BookTube, but I think it would probably just migrate to something else at this point. I also think that BookTube is old enough now that it's gonna go through growing pains. A community, like a person, goes through phases and reinvents itself and is shaped by the new people coming in and the popular channels and stuff. And so I think that over time, individual channels will change what they're doing and evolve, and kind of as a result of that, BookTube as a whole might evolve. The one that I've seen kind of interestingly over the years that I have been active on BookTube is kind of a growing number of booktubers who started out as teenagers and mainly like reading YA, who have now been doing this for 7-8 years, and they're now in their mid to late 20s. They've gotten through high school and college. They're now, you know, adults with adult responsibilities, and their reading tastes have changed as they've grown older. So I've seen people who were initially branded as like big YA booktubers who are now moving away from reading YA, at least as the majority of what they read. There are some pretty prominent people who have done that. I think that Ariel Bissett is one who's really had an interesting transformation over the years as she's grown up on YouTube, basically. And then Chapter Stacks is another one. And I think that's really interesting. I think you're going to see a lot of things like that happen as just time goes on and individuals grow up and change and all of that. But anyway, I feel like it's kind of veering away from what the question is actually about. No, BookTube is not going to die. So that is it. That is the BookTube Real Talk tag. I, at the moment, can't think of anybody to tag, but if I do, I will put it in the description down below and like actually tag people on Twitter or something. So yeah, that's my real talk. Thank you for watching. I'll be back to talk to you again soon, and until then, bye.